North's Face sponsors LGBT overnight camp for 12-year-old kids where children perform in drag. Oh, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Yeah, so someone is proffering this as a potential next Bud Light boycott. Yeah, if that's true, if North Face did indeed sponsor homo camps for 12-year-olds, that's, as far as I'm concerned, essentially sexual abuse and pedophilia support, like on a public-facing way. So, chat, I would, if this is true, I'd like to recommend that you not buy any more North Face merchandise, and publicly announce that you intend not to do so on this basis, and encourage others to do the same. I would still recommend that you look up the story, make sure it's true first, which, you know what, I guess is kind of something I could do. North Face LGBT camp. Let's see if it's a fake news headline, shall we? Oh, there is in fact a boycott. Good. The actual camp has responded to the boycott as well. So someone taking the opposite side of this is defending them. North Face supports LGBT overnight camp. I think this was the original source. Spencer Lindquist. No, it's not, but it's close enough. North Face clothing brand company has donated to a summer camp that encourages kids as young as 12 to perform in drag shows and explore their gender expression through a clothing closet where they can experiment with their looks. Yeah, that's abhorrent. This shit's probably worse in a lot of ways, perhaps overall, than lobotomy, and it will be remembered the same. Known as Camp Brave Trails, the overnight summer camp serves LGBT-identifying teens aged 12 to 17. The campgrounds are located in New York and California, what a surprise, and boast of campers from all 50 states and other countries. Oh yeah, pedophiles from all over the world. In a Thursday X post, the non-profit group Gays Against Groomers called for people to boycott the North Face over its sponsorship of Brave Trails, noting that the camp offers things like queer therapy to kids. Yeah. Gays Against Groomers also cited that the North Face had donated $100,000 to Camp Brave Trails, but it did not cite a source. This is much worse than Bud Light. Just so you know. This is much worse than what Bud Light did. The North Face advertised in a June 2021 X post that it had donated over $70,000 of its Pride collection to the Camp Brave Trails. The company included a photo of the collection in the post, which featured several articles of clothing bearing the LGBT rainbow flag and the trans flag. Camp Brave Trails and the North Face did not immediately respond to the Christian. Always ignore that. Any publication, or especially when it says immediately, especially, because what they usually do is they send off the request for comment, then they click publish on the article. Ignore this almost every time. Quote, sadly, this is far from the only LGBTQ youth camp, Gays Against Groomers tweeted in a follow-up post. There are dozens around the country. They are on the rise. The non-profit provided a link to an article published in February on its website that warned parents about youth camps that present themselves as a safe space for children, but in reality are teaching them to explore their sexuality. One example named was Camp Lilac, which reportedly offers trans-centered activities. Yeah, this is abhorrent. Now, you guys would already be plenty wise to this, but remember, if you have any friends that have children, or you know anyone that has children, and they are against this kind of thing, but might assume that any given camp is safe, remind them that this is a risk. Yeah, John Wick, we're not talking about, like, burn your existing North Face clothing unless you want to do it on camera, like as a show of support for the boycott. But there's no point burning things you already own. Just don't buy any more from them. As Jack says, remember when Pray Away the Gay camps back in the 90s and 2000s was a massive outrage and violation of human rights? That's a lot less bad. I mean, even talking from the frame of how bad things are today and trying to be objective about it, the trans stuff, like the religious stuff is at worst, it's going to get them inculcated into religion. And, maybe thinking of it badly from there. The idea of a camp in general can support potentially pedophiles, but that's all camps. That's the worst that could happen there. They become Christian, which some people could react badly to, for sure, and especially depending on how it's done, potentially. But the LGBT thing, every kid pretty much is going to have a much worse life as a result, and especially when there's trans stuff involved, it's going to be pushing them towards sterilizing themselves and destroying their pubescent development. So this is much worse. On its website, Camp Brave Trails advertises standard summer camp activities such as hiking, archery, and stargazing, but with an LGBTQ plus twist. The summer camp also promises campers that they can embark on a journey of self-discovery. As they learn more about the LGBT community through exclusive programs, it claims campers will only find at a camp like Brave Trails. I really don't want to read about this anymore because it's horrible to think that kids are being put through this. But hopefully the boycott works. We can raise awareness of it, and then it won't happen as much anymore. Jack says, I don't know how much damage you can do to North Face. VF Corporation, who owns North Face, has been in total collapse for the past 5 years. It was $100 a share at the end of 2019. It's 13 today. Let this be the final nail in their coffin. It seems distinctly possible that something like this, what they're doing here, was an attempt to suck up a bunch of ESG money. I don't know exactly how it would work, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. You're donating to LGBT causes. Here's a list of recommendations directly from BlackRock. Here's your ESG money if you do it. Desperately trying to shore themselves up with some investor capital from ESG money. That's a plausible explanation for why they're doing this. Let them die as a result. Let this be the nail in their coffin. Let this be the thing that takes it from $13 to $0. Go broke, get woke, and ultimately croak, says Nighthawk, quoting Razor Fist. The get woke, go broke, or whatever it is thing, it doesn't always happen. There's some companies that weather it. But it does generally happen. And you see with Bud Light, they're not doing so well as a result of the boycott, which is, as far as I know, still ongoing. A lot of, as I said at the time, loads of people who used to drink Bud Light will have switched over to some equivalent brand and figured this is about the same. And then, like, at that point, it's just a matter of, like, they're the same, but this one supported trannies, so I'll buy this one. And then they never go back. That's the thing. That's the reason the boycott is so powerful. Because Bud Light, as far as I know and understand, and chat, I'm sure I can confirm, isn't really offering something unique or distinct from its competitors. It's just habit that people happen to drink Bud Light rather than something else. But as soon as they have a reason to switch to something else, they'll stay there. Why would they bother going back? Even if the boycott, quote unquote, ends, even years afterwards, if they've forgotten, why would they bother going back? Because the taste, as far as I understand, is basically the same. So at that point, yeah, Bud Light is now on the inexorable track towards broke. And I mean, they're already a lot more broke than they were. So, yes. Excuse me. Someone that says not get woke, go broke. This is go broke, get woke. To try to use woke shit as a shield against criticism for failure. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not sure it was even a shield against criticism for failure. Then again, like, okay, so they're advertising that they're doing this and they're sending money to this really dodgy organization. I could believe that this would all be for the ESG money, and that that this would be exactly what they had to do to get it, and that, as you said, they're going broke, so they're getting woke specifically to get ESG money. I don't suspect any of these corporations are doing this in order to appeal to the public. Even they may believe, like, well, you know, the Zoomers and young generations, they love this woke stuff. Well, some of them do, but not actually that many. So if they did their market research, they'd figure out, oh, okay, only about 10 to 20% of them actually say that they like this stuff. But they either they haven't done the market research and they're inept, or more likely, it's just ESG. Because what all you need to do to control an economy is get the place from which money flows, loans, get the economy dependent upon investment loans, and then make the investment loans contingent upon ideological supplication, and then have them publicly announced that supplication. That's all you need to do. Now, that won't last, but for a while, for a decade or more, you can completely control the economy, the economy's ideology, and the people's ideology by doing that. And that's what they've done. As I said, it won't last because that's anti-meritocratic, and eventually it will break apart. Eventually it will stop. I don't think it's quite that simple, Faggy. The people at the camp, I wouldn't put it past them to be pedophiles who want to kids without personal consequences. Some of the people that set up ESG also probably pedophiles, yes, but there is more to it than that. Someone that says Hollywood does the same thing all the time. They know the movies they're making are shit from the start, so they fill them with woke shit and say, if you criticize our movie, you just hate X. See, using it as a shield is, I think, a secondary objective. I don't doubt that they get some ESG money the more woke shit they put in their movies. All you have to do is have an unhealthy economy where everything costs too much, and then investment banks have loads of money because they keep cheating into getting more, and then gate how you get the money for ideological purposes. That is a great way that you can make a society essentially demoralize itself. North Face faces conservative boycott for sponsoring a queer summer camp. Say, and here's like, would you trust these individuals with your children? Let me ask you this, chat. Would you trust these individuals to stay inside a padded cell without damaging themselves? Would you trust these individuals to go a full day without leaking effluent in a way that was unpleasant? Would you trust these three people in a room filled with police officers watching them and one child not to try to touch that child? Well, I'm not sure the parents would if they really knew what was going on either. So let's read what these guys say, and bearing in mind that their bias is likely to be opposite to ours, but we shall deal with that. They say a summer camp for LGBTQ plus youth is speaking out against after conservatives called for a boycott of the popular outdoor clothing brand The North Face, simply for sponsoring them, says the article. To incite outrage among its followers, bit of a supposition there, anti-transgender extreme, because of course you guys to the left would never try to incite outrage. Anti-transgender extremist group, Gays Against Groomers, recently drudged up a post. Why would you assume that if they're against groomers that they're against anti-transgender? Why would you assume that? Recently drudged up a post from 2021 in which the North Face announced it would be donating $70,000 to the LGBTQ plus summer camp, Brave Trails. Apparently it's also based on more recent behavior, so it's not just a drudged up post. As if drudging up a post is something the left wouldn't do as well? Gays Against Groomers is identified as an anti-LGBT extremist group by the Anti-Defamation League. Oh, it must be true then. Anti-Defamation League would never lie. Not like literally their founding event was a significant lie in defense of a pedophile. And the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is much the same thing. Though I don't know much about their origin, I don't doubt that there's a lot of similar history. With several of its leaders having known affiliations with far-right groups like the Proud Boys. Oh no, not the Proud Boys. I bet they're all pedophiles. No, there's no reason to think so, as far as I know. It's just like, okay, you're going to defend the pedophiles versus, gasp, the conservative activists. Oh no, not the conservative activists. I bet they do worse things than literally children. Gays Against Groomers described the camp, which is accredited by the American Camp Association. Oh, I bet. Camp. I'm sure we can interpret that in multiple ways. Only as a place where kids as young as 12 go to perform in drag, likening the art form to the abuse of grooming. The organization then called for a boycott of the clothing brand for its donations to the camp. 100 grand, not just 70, by the way. Quote, it sounds like they are just begging for the Bud Light treatment and we think we should give it to them. I would agree. The group wrote, referencing the backlash the beer company received last year after a single paid promotion with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Yes, it wasn't much, was it, that caused Bud Light to suffer that? The point is it's a symbol. Powerful and useful and correct symbol. And this is much worse. So, chat, I would recommend that you not buy anything from North Face ever again. Chat, press 1 if you will be joining the boycott and never, or at least for many years, not buying again from North Face. Press 1 if you'll be joining the boycott. Brave Trails is a non-profit that focuses on leadership development in LGBT youth and allies ages 12 to 18, which you can word it however you want. If the camp is focused on sexuality with kids as young as 12, no. No way. Communications Director Jake Young told The Advocate that they will not be deterred from their mission of supporting young queer people, no such thing, as far as you know, as hate groups try to promote a false narrative about the work that we do. No, they know what you do. At least they know what you say you do. And either they suspect is happening, which is a reasonable thing to suspect under the circumstances, or they just don't like what you say you do in the first place. It doesn't matter how much you say you're trying to promote leadership development or you're trying to help them discover them. None of this stuff, nothing that you could say about what you do with them matters beyond the fact that you are identifying your target demographic by the sexuality and the fact that they're under 18. That's enough already. That's enough already for us to both suspect that pedophiles are significantly involved and for us to suspect that that is abhorrent potential abuse and grooming. That's the point. Now, if you were running a summer camp where the objective was leadership development, archery, hiking, stargazing, that could be fine. It could still be there. There could be, yeah. But no more than any other camp. No more likely to be than any other camp. But once you include LGBT, it's not just this generic topic that you can apply to anything. These are adult topics. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus whatever the hell that means. These are adult topics. You don't engage children in sexuality because there is a clearly observable pattern throughout all of history, and particularly in our living history, no necessarily more strongly, but more visibly, that if you expose children to sexuality, it fucks them up. And moreover, if you expose children to chemicals which delay their puberty, it fucks them up even more. And if you delay children to literally the chemicals that are used to sterilize pedophiles, it sterilizes them. Not that any of you really need to hear this, but it does disgust me quite a lot. And in case you wanted to have a better reason to join the boycott, I, as Motch will affirm, I rarely bother buying clothes. People just every few years, someone gives me a clothing as a gift because they can't think of anything else. So I just subsist on that for the most part. I occasionally buy my own clothes, but very rarely. But if I ever do, and Motch, perhaps you'd agree, Shall we join the boycott and not buy anything from North Face? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'd say we might want to avoid them, at least for a little bit.
Yeah. I think if it's okay, we've got new management, we're sorry about the errors of our past, we're not going to support any LGBT stuff anymore, we're just going to make good clothes, then, we consider it. Keep an eye on them, give it a chance, maybe start to wear off on the boycott. But until then, I don't think so. I think Motch, we can take it upon ourselves to avoid one brand. And I don't know if you were much of a Bud Light drinker, but perhaps we can try something else as well on that front.
Bud Light is A, already beer, so ew, and B, light beer. What are you, 12?
Well, unfortunately, some of the kids in this camp were. Our blasters, what if it was a camp, a kids' camp teaching them firearm safety and usage and basic bushcraft and land navigation? Would the left have a problem with that, or would they call it right-wing extremism? They probably would call it right-wing extremism. Now, I'm not 100% confident in, letting kids have access to guns. As long as they're well supervised, it's okay. There could be risks there, but that's so minor compared to this. This is just... even if zero grooming is happening at the camp, which is very unlikely, the risk of it is still really high because you're sexualizing children. And again, you're still sexualizing children. You're still introducing these concepts to them. So I would say that kids being around firearms supervised by adults is much less dangerous than kids being around sexual topics supervised by adults who want to expose them to the sexual topics. The potential for grooming there is so high that even if you could convincingly demonstrate to me that no grooming has yet happened at that camp, I'm going to tell you, matter of time. Could be tomorrow. Could be that you just haven't seen it yet. Even if you could prove to me it has never happened there, it's still very possible that it could do, still very likely. And of course, you expose them to the topics in the first place, so arguably that is itself grooming. Someone says they're putting kids in drag that's already beyond the threshold of no grooming has happened here. If they in fact are, which I don't think we read anywhere explicitly saying that they are, but maybe we did, maybe I've forgotten it, then yeah, that's clearly already abuse. Now, at the very least, parents should be aware of it. If the parents sign off on it, then I would still consider it to be, in many cases, grooming. But at the very least, then you can say that the parents were aware, it was their choice. But I would dare say a lot of the parents involved in this don't know what goes on at the camp. Once again, it comes down to parents should be more aware of what their kids are doing. And unfortunately, as much as I would like to, and as much as a lot of what we do relies on this, we can't really trust society to always act. We can't trust the collective to act generally morally, especially not around something as precious as our children.